Thank you, Madam President, and happy Teachers' Day to all the teachers who are here.
Thank you.
All parents are teachers, and all teachers are parents. So, if you didn't go to a great college like Michael, or one of the other colleges, happy Teachers' Day. And you can tell which college I went to by virtue of what I just said. I want to say that I'm very happy at and for the work being done by the IPP, and it shows that volunteerism is not dead, and good people are abound in Jamaica. I had reason to call another ministry. Recently, and the person who answered the phone was so wonderful in terms of helping, in terms of being courteous, that I had to call whoever was the person in charge, supervisor for that individual, and I asked for their name and commend them several times for the courtesy and the swiftness with which the matter that I had called about was dealt with. Now, I didn't give my name, just called as any Jamaican, and I said to myself, well, if I got that kind of reception, I hope every other caller also got that kind of reception. Sometimes we think that Jamaica, there's only bad about Jamaica. But I am supremely optimistic because I see the evidence that Jamaica has far more good than bad. There are far more positives in Jamaica happening than the negatives that are sometimes put on the front stage and are made to appear to be the be-all and end-all of what Jamaica is about. So I'm very glad for the contribution of the IPP and all the members who are working tirelessly to make Jamaica a better place. This lady beside me, Mrs. Claudette Pius, she doesn't remember me, maybe because either I put on a few pounds or taken off a couple. But when I was in my third year in journalism, my radio documentary was on street children in Spanish Town, and I went to Children First, and she assisted me greatly. And so many years after, probably 20 years after, we meet again, and I'm wanting to say thank you. She actually assisted me also because one of her managers then took two of the youngsters to the studio, which was then Radio Mona, and we did some of the recordings there and so on. And for that documentary, I ended up getting a good grade. Well, here as a matter of fact. So thank you, ma'am. 20 years after we meet. Thank you very much. Master of Ceremonies and the Public Relations Officer for the International Proxy Parents, Mrs. Marie Claire, or Clark, sorry. Claire has a nicer name, if there's any Claire here. Mrs. Paulette Lindo, President of the International Proxy Parents. Moderator, Mrs. Claudette Pius, Chief Executive Officer, Children First. Executive Director, National Parenting Support Commission, Dr. Patrice Charles. Senior Legal and Policy Officer for the Office of the Children's Advocate, and Chief Executive Officer for the Child Development Agency, Mrs. Rosalie Grange Gray. Registrar for the Office of the Children's Registry, Mr. Greg Smith, Reverend James Bell, members of the media, friends, colleagues, all, good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's not so bad that we can't say good afternoon. I'm pleased to be here this afternoon, and of course I'm bringing the message of the Minister of Education, Honorable Royal Reid. This forum is particularly important because it is helping to address a very crucial challenge. We don't have to debate the point. Far too many adults are short on skills and techniques which they need to adequately treat with the job of being a parent. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been an educator for over 35 years, and that's Mr. Reid, not me. I'm speaking that clear. I have seen the good, the bad, and the ugly of the education system. I believe there's far more good than bad and ugly. I'm eternally optimistic that we can significantly reduce many of the problems in our schools if many more parents are better equipped to play their role more fulsomely. This is an objective we must achieve, and we need to do so speedily. In the vein of a teacher, I have a question for you this afternoon. Are there any perfect parents here this afternoon? If yes, put up your hand, please. No? I hope you heard the question. Are there any perfect parents here this afternoon? No. I thought as much. Colleagues, there are no perfect parents. Those of us who are parents know that we have fallen short on many occasions in our duties. And maybe I should hold this thing. Yeah. Okay. Psychologist at Temple Hall University, Professor Lawrence Steinberg, says, perfect parents just don't exist. Steinberg also says, I have never met a parent who is a perfect parent 100% of the time. We all can improve our batting average. That's why we're here today, ladies and gentlemen. Not because we're perfect parents, but because we want to sharpen our skills and help others sharpen theirs. In order to improve our parenting skills, we have to practice, and then practice some more. And I know that very well. I have two boys. One is 4 and one is 6. And for all my training as a teacher, it's a different world when you get into the real space and you want to apply some of the theories, but you realize sometimes the theories are not applicable given the realities of your own children. So you have to find new skills and practice again. Professor Lawrence Steinberg and Laura Carnell at Temple Hall University have suggested 10 basic principles of good parenting. Colleagues, I don't want for it to be interpreted that I am here promoting Temple Hall University. Neither do I want anyone to get the impression that these steps were handed down from the tablets from the biblical Moses. And since I was asked to give remarks and not a keynote address, I am very mindful of time limits. Step number 1, what you do matters. Tell yourself every day what you do matters as a parent. How you treat and respond to your child should come from a knowledgeable, deliberate sense of what you want to accomplish. Always ask yourself, what effect will my decision have on my child? A good example is the best teacher. A good example is the best teacher. Remember the old saying, children live what they? All right. When it comes to genuine expressions of warmth and affection, you cannot love your child too much. Would we agree with that? It is simply not possible to spoil a child with love. When we often think of as the, well, let me read it again. What we often think of as the product of spoiling a child is never the result of showing a child too much love. It is usually the consequences of giving a child things in place of love. Things like leniency, lowered expectations, or material possessions. Don't wait until Christmas and special occasions to show love and tell your children that you love them. Show your children love 365 days of the year and 366 in a leap year. Be patient with your child's life. Being an involved parent takes time and is hard work and oftentimes means rethinking and rearranging your priorities. And there's no greater priority than your child. It frequently means sacrificing what you want to do for what your child needs you to do. Be there mentally as well as physically. Help your child with his or her homework. And you know, I can reflect a little bit on my sojourn as a teacher and up to the level of being a school principal. There are some parents, you would see them when the child came in at first form. And oftentimes you would not see them again until graduation. And at that time, I tell you this, on many occasions you would send for the parents. And some other people would come, not necessarily proxy parents, in the true sense or in the real sense, but some other persons, and they, in many instances, could not represent the interests of the child adequately. But it's something we have to contend with as parents. Visit his school and talk with his teachers, education caregivers about your child's development. Don't wait until fifth form. Know what's happening, or wait, Mrs. Pius was saying something there. Know what's happening in your child's life and let others see evidence of your interest. Teachers take a different perspective, treat with your child differently now when they know that the parent is interested in the child. When they see you come to the school unannounced and ask, how is Johnny doing? How is Mary doing? Believe it or not, that child is treated with quite differently than the child whose parents are sent for time and time and time and time again, but never come to school. Believe me on that. Make sure your parenting keeps pace with your child's development. You may wish you could slow down or freeze free in your child's life, but this is the last thing he wants. You may be fighting getting older, but all he wants is to grow up. The same drive for independence that is making your 3-year-old say no all the time is what's motivating him to be a toilet or to be toilet trained. The same intellectual growth spurt that is making a 13-year-old curious and inquisitive in the classroom also is making her argumentative at the dinner table. We have a thing about, the Americans say feisty. We say feisty. It's Pius, you're in drama, so you know what I say, feisty. We call it feisty or out of order. And sometimes a child will ask a question. Say bright and out of order. Shut up. That's the worst, one of the worst things we can do. I remember a little fellow, while I was a principal at the school. They said he was the worst boy in the school. And one day, I had a math problem, well, math challenge really. And I put it to the class as to who could solve it. And he was the only boy, after going to a number of classes, substituting for teachers who were absent, who could solve that problem. And I tell you something else about that particular chap. One of the things I did when I was a principal, some people didn't like it. I said, look, this thing of graduation without achievement is nonsense. In order for a child to graduate, you must have achieved. And there's a benchmark. And so we instituted certain guidelines as to who could graduate and cut out something that was called school leaving ceremony. And the children caught on to it. And what was happening was that some of the children were putting pressure on the teachers to say, look, we have to meet our certain standards, certain guidelines to graduate. Therefore, you have to be at class on time. And this very boy I'm telling you about, one morning, I overheard him saying to a teacher, look, when we come late, we are chastised. So how is it that you are consistently coming late as a teacher? Especially given that there are certain requirements now that we need to meet to make sure we graduate. And I make that point to make the further point that children, they rise to the occasion or they fall accordingly, depending on the expectations of the parents and the example set by the parents. If you set high standards, your children will oftentimes gravitate towards those high standards. Establish and set rules. Even in hell, a preacher said, there are rules. The devil has rules in hell. If you don't message or manage your child's behavior when he's young, he will have a hard time learning how to manage himself when he's older and when you are not around. Any time of the day or night, you should always be able to answer these three questions. Where is my child? It can't be that you, and none of the parents here are guilty of this, you are at Careless Wednesday, or Money Thursday, or Joker Friday, and the child is also there with you. Some of us might think it's true, but I see it. It's evidence if you turn on a certain channel, you see some youngsters with some oldsters, and we are told in some instances those are the parents. Who is my child with? Should be able to answer that question. What is my child doing? The rules your child has learned from you are going to shape the rules he applies to himself. Believe it or not. Remember, I always say to parents, you can't ask permission of your child to be the parent. You are the parent. That doesn't mean you're a dictator. But you are the parent, and you shouldn't be asking your child's permission to be parent. You're not the friend. That's my view. You're not your child's best friend, in a literal sense. You are your child's parent. Some people might disagree with that view. Depends on your interpretation in some instances. Setting limits helps your child develop a sense of self-control. Encouraging independence helps to develop a sense of self-direction. To be successful in life, she's going to need both. Accepting that it is normal for children to push for autonomy is absolutely key to effective parenting. Many parents mistakenly equate their child's independence with rebelliousness or disobedience. And I once heard Ms. Pius in an interview saying, there's a difference between discipline and murderation. All of us are Jamaicans. You know what we call murderation? Kill you with leak. But there's a big difference between discipline and murderation. And those of us who come from the country like me, St. Mary, where certain events happened recently, certain dastardly events, the rule of thumb was oftentimes something called murderation. My mother, if I wasted time at school, and I oftentimes did, until I got to about third form and realized that life was a serious thing. My mother wouldn't joke. She would come to the school and administer the correction. Yes, man, if I was fooling around too much. But maybe it worked for me, because it got me straight and on the narrow by the time I got to third form, and I realized life was not a joke. It was a serious business, and that she was making a great sacrifice to give me what she didn't get as a parent. Yeah? And I appreciated that once I got enough sense and maybe enough licks. Some of us will probably relate to that experience a little bit. Number 7, be consistent. If your rules vary from day to day in an unpredictable fashion, or if you enforce them only intermittently, your child's misbehavior is your fault, not theirs. Do we agree with that? You can't be today saying one thing, tomorrow saying another, and the other day several different other things. Avoid harsh discipline, and I mentioned the difference already between moderation and discipline. Explain your rules and decisions. Sometimes we believe that children don't understand it, but they do. If you say to them, this is why I'm going to do this, they understand. What my mother used to do is, in some instances, wait until the beating pile up, as we say in Jamaican parlance. So she would say, you remember last week when I told you to go to the market and do so and so, and she used to take me to the market in Port Maria. And one of the things about my mother, even when I was in fourth form, my mother knew everybody in the Port Maria market, every single person. And I would have the bags on a Saturday. In those days I had a swinging bridge she would walk across into the market. And she would stop and talk to Miss Dassa, Miss Brown, and I have the bags. I can't put on the bags. And it taught me a very important lesson doing it. It might seem that it might have been a little bit over the top, but here's the thing. It taught me that nobody was unimportant. Every human being was important, to the point where you had to have a conversation with them about how they were feeling, what they were going through. It wasn't just a transaction to buy some goods from them and give them some money, and that was the extent of the relationship. That there was a connection between you and the people that you lived with. So it was important. Explain the rules. She would never tell me why she was doing all of this, but I learned. Treat your child with respect. You can't come to the school and tell the child out a dirty bad word. I've seen that as a principal. I've seen it as a teacher. While somebody who says they are a parent, they come to the school in a tights or one of those riders, or they come fairly well dressed too, and they tell the children some very unsavory things in front of the peers and in front of the school. Your child is not going to give you too much respect if you do that. So it's important that we respect our children, because the respect is reciprocated. We are here today to help each other to become better parents, to produce better children for a better Jamaica. I think that's why we're here. We would agree? Let me say it. We're here today to help each other to become better parents, to produce better children for a better Jamaica. The International Proxy Parents has been doing a very good job of building capacity. I want to commend the IPP for the financial assistance that it has provided for 48 students in 20 schools across Kingston and St. Andrew. Could we give them some appreciation there? And one of the things I admire about this organization, the president will tell you when she called, or whichever representative called my office to ask for a profile, I was a little bit tentative, because I think such things are pretentious. Somebody saw me the other day with my phone, which was this actually, and said, well, how comes your big advisor carry a little phone like that? I said, you know, really, that's not really critical. And when somebody called asking for a profile, I was a little bit tentative because I'm saying, look, I'm fine, just call my name and say you're up to speak, and that's fine. Sometimes I notice that all of this work that the IPP has been doing, unlike some organization where if you're giving a man a loaf of bread, you have the cameras taking pictures to put into the newspapers. I notice you're not following that model, and I really, really admire that. Not everybody you help, you have to get some personal mileage out of it. I don't believe in that at all. And I admire the model that you're pursuing. You're helping people because people need help, but at the same time, it's not in furtherance of any personal agenda of self-aggrandizement. And I think you should be commended for that. Please continue to extend that financial lifeline as far as is possible. Congratulations to all who assisted with the planning and all who will present and or contribute in whichever way to the success of this public forum. God bless you as we work for the betterment of Jamaica, land we love. Thank you.